I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. That is my primary concern when it comes to these latest guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council. And I think this is what I call the rise of the multicultural identitarian state. This is not about treating citizens fairly. This is ultimately undermining equality before the law. And I think it's very clear that if you want to talk about having a criminal justice system based on fairness, equality, and neutrality, these guidelines go exactly against that. They're directly opposed to that. And I think I'll make this point as well that you have public bodies such as the Sentencing Council, they're subject to the Public Sector Equality Act. Public sector equality duty, sorry. That means that they should be combating discrimination, they should be fostering good relations between people, and they should be promoting equality. Again, these new guidelines go against that, and I think crucially this is the risk here. There's a very real cultural backlash, I think, that's in full flow at the moment, and this kind of thing will exacerbate that, where you're ultimately raising ethnic consciousness among the white British majority, and that will lead to a less harmonious society.
So yes, you're absolutely right. When you start looking at your differences, you start noticing them, and you start thinking about it, and you start making all sorts of. Whereas I just want people to be treated equally before the law. I don't care what people's background is. I don't care what people's sexuality is. I just want fairness, and that's what our viewers and listeners want as well. I am honestly quite worried about Sue Carr, the Lady Chief Justice, Baroness Carr. She says that judges should be independent. I'm absolutely happy for judges to be independent. I don't want a politicised system as they have in America and many other countries. I don't want a system by which a political leader can tell a judge what to do. What I am worried about is I think there's a pattern of behaviour here. This is my opinion on this, because we've seen on the 18th of February, for example, that she criticised both Sir Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch, who criticised a judge's ruling on an immigration case. Now, the ruling was specifically that a Palestinian family from Gaza should be allowed to come to the UK. A family of 6, a mother, father and 4 children, has sought permission to live with a British relative who proved he was able to house and financially support them. But the point is that that was done under legislation for Ukrainians fleeing the war. It was nothing to do with Gaza. Kemi Badenoch said a judge has now ruled in their favour. This is not what the scheme was designed to do. The decision is completely wrong and cannot be allowed to stand. Are the government planning to appeal on any points of law, and if so, which ones? So the government obviously were involved in that case. Now, Lady Carr said the remarks from both Keir Starmer, who said it should be Parliament that makes the rules on immigration, and Kemi Badenoch were unacceptable and conflicted with the duty of politicians to uphold the rule of law and respect the independent rule of judges. Sorry, who do you think you are, Sue?
No, absolutely. I think that judicial overreach is a very serious problem. Now, of course, I support an independent judiciary, but I think that if it gets to a stage where judges are ultimately undercutting the immigration and asylum policy of a democratically elected government, I do think there's a problem there. And I think with this sentencing council, it's a public body and it has very real responsibilities. And I think that to advise the courts of England and Wales to ultimately, in my view, this risks treating minorities in a favourable way, that they become beneficiaries of preferential treatment. And I think that's a very serious problem, especially from a social cohesion perspective. And I think that it would undermine wider public confidence in the criminal justice system in terms of how it works and functions.